Hello, and welcome to another podcast of Andy's Philosophy Corner. I am Andy, Chief Philosophical Officer at the Steel Plaza Podcast. This week we have a very special guest, and we'll get into that very shortly. If you like what you hear, we are a part of the Steel Plaza Network, where you can find this show as well as many others. Please consider donating to the show at www.paypal.me/Steel Plaza Podcast. You can donate in any way you like and don't even need to sign up for a PayPal account. So, this time around on Andy's Philosophy Corner, I have a very, very special guest who has been a wonderful activist for people in Thailand that are currently suffering under an unfair monarch. And her name is Anne. And Anne, why don't you start off and just tell us a little bit about how you got involved and what is the current state of affairs in Thailand?
Okay. So I got involved originally because I was interested in a Thai band, and then because I knew the language, I got really angry after the coup in 2014, and I went to a protest in New York City when the dictator Prayut Chan-o-cha came to the United States for the first time to go to a UN meeting.
Okay.
And that's when it felt like I met my soulmates there, the other Thai activists who attended that protest. And it just got going from there. Those people kept calling me and trying to get me more involved. And I was saying, oh, this has nothing to do with me. But as it turned out, I was sucked in because, I just would say to one person, well, I'm an editor. I can edit for you if you'd like. And they'd immediately say, yes, I need this in an hour, and it's going to the EU or something. And so I was immediately able to see the results of helping. And so many amazing adventures happened through this because I literally, started meeting the top activists in Thailand.
Wow.
And it was just like I had, it was like it was 1776,
Wow.
For the United States, except, it's Thailand. And when this is all over, I will have known all the big people. And it just was a really interesting thing. And
What
all I
year
did
was the
edit what they, and translate what they were doing.
What year was the coup, again, for our listeners?
The coup was in 2016. And Prayut Chan-o-cha overthrew the government of Yingluck Shinawatra, or the administration of Yingluck. I guess she was ousted a few weeks before or something. But that coup happened, overturning election, and the idea that they put out there was, we're just going to have a caretaker government. Reform democracy. That's what they said. It's going to reform democracy, and then we'll, have new elections, and everything will be better.
Promises.
Right. And the last time that had happened, after the coup, within a year there was new elections, and this time no. And all the way up until the elections didn't happen until, let's see, the coup was 2016, and the elections on my cheat sheet were March 24, 2019. So they were just postponed,
Right.
and
Kept putting
then
it off.
the elections were rigged such that the same guy who staged the coup is still the prime minister today.
Right. So it's it was the false promise of a better democracy. Now,
right, and now everyone's pretty sick of it.
Right, and music was how you got involved in this, and
Yeah.
I think that's very interesting for our listeners. Many of listeners of this also listen to the Darkest Corners of the World music podcast on the Steel Plaza podcast. And you have actually done more than a little bit of translating the lyrics that have really given greater life to this movement for freedom and free speech in Thailand.
Well, I don't know that it gives greater life to the movement, but it's really great background for me because I am steeped in, I'm steeped into music. And for instance, the leader of the movement is on a hunger strike. His name is Penguin. And he just put out 2 poems from prison. And somebody said to me like 2 weeks ago, oh, by the way, wow. He put out these amazing poems and he's trying to evoke Jit Pumisak. And I'm like, oh my God, Jit Pumisak. And
what is Jit Pumisak?
Right, exactly. Well, he is like he was a revolutionary, also communist, who way back, I think he died in the 60s. And but maybe he died in the 50s, whatever, but he had written some thesis about the caste system in Thailand, and he was academic, and he was eventually died early from some, as a result of his activism, whatever it was, which I'm not entirely clear about, but the songs that he wrote are still sung today. And when I have a website called Music of Thai Freedom, and by myself I went, oh my God, this one song, which translates as Starlight of Faith, is just the best song at my site. Well, that was his song. And also all the activists, they sing this song, and it's just like this magical song. Okay, so Penguin is trying to evoke this guy who's another revolutionary, right? Right. So he writes this poem that just, is the equal of, Starlight of Faith, and evokes it. And yeah, okay. So anyways, I wouldn't be able to experience all this without that background. Nobody else is going to go, oh my God, this poem, and except Thai people. I mean, I'm going to be the only non-Thai person who's going to be over the moon about this poem. And so it really gives me a background. That's all I can say. So
what was, of course, we were talking before we started recording here at the studio. What was the group, the website that you had asked me to remember, and I told you I probably couldn't?
Music of Thai Freedom. And before that, yes. The other one we won't mention right now in the same
breath.
Okay. Yes.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I'm steeped in a lot of Thai music.
Well, that's wonderful.
I have to hurry right to the fact that one of my friends who actually helped me translate many songs on that website, as if I ever had a question, I just shoot him a whatever. I won't say how I got in touch with him, right. And he'd answer back, and would clue me in on, oh, this would be a good song to translate. He's in jail now, Port Fayen, and he had 8 of his friends assassinated, including a former housemate. And so, the regime just set out to assassinate, and I will go farther than the regime, because now we know King Wachiralongkorn ordered the assassination of all those people. And now, it used to be an argument that I could make. It is now is something you can Google. Okay?
Oh, my gosh.
And so with the 8 people being assassinated, we were trying to get Fayen banned from Laos to France. They eventually got to France. Port, meanwhile, had, during this campaign, had to go back to Thailand for life-threatening illness. He possibly needed surgery. The surgery had a 50% chance of dying. He decided not to have the surgery. And so he's recuperating from pancreatitis in Thailand and throwing up and losing all of his weight that is possible for someone to lose. And so that's how sick he was. He finally regains his weight and is instantly arrested in Thailand.
Oh, gosh. One of the things we will be talking about in the second and third segments are, this is a philosophy show. Well, I will tell you that John Stuart Mill, the father of utilitarianism, really put words to the fact that what do you actually do? You can sit and talk about things all day long, but bringing attention to human rights violations and actually helping people via the internet, because it's a global community now, and the different websites you had mentioned, I strongly encourage our listeners to check out Thai music. I'm familiar with the work of Carabao.
Yeah, and this website where the Thai protest music is called Music of Thai Freedom. I have 100 songs. The best songs that are used in the Thai pro-democracy movement are translated there. And until like last week, there was about 5 or 6, I forget, artists there who were in jail for lèse-majesty. They just let two people out on bail.
And lèse-majesty is just kind of at the whim of the ruler, correct?
Basically, yes.
Right.
Okay. And in fact, Port is accused. He said a lot of strong statements against the monarchy, but what they got him for is something in 2016 where he commented on a coup in Turkey. And
this will lead greatly into our following segments where we will focus on the importance of free speech.
Right.
Again, this is Andy's Philosophy Corner, and in just a moment we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll catch up with you on the flip side with more from Anne, more about the struggle happening right now in Thailand. Things haven't stopped. Everything's not all better already. And we'll speak more and more about the limits to free speech and the importance of free speech. So, talk to you in a minute. All right, welcome back to Andy's Philosophy Corner. This installment, we are talking about Thailand and the struggles happening there, and one of the larger issues being free speech. Now, earlier in this segment, I'd mentioned John Stuart Mill, who was the founder of the concept of utilitarianism. What is the utility? There's talk, and there's talk, and there's talk, but when you actually get something done, that matters, and that's John Stuart Mill's probably greatest claim to fame. But it is worth mentioning that John Stuart Mill also wrote a book called On Liberty, in which he tried to discuss in great depth the ideas associated with free speech, and what is free speech like, and what, if any, are its limits. So, and in Thailand, what variety or what amount of free speech actually exists for the average person in Thailand? What aren't they allowed to say, I guess?
Okay, the only thing you're not allowed to say is anything negative about the monarchy. However, that taboo has broken just recently, as in about August of last year. And now people are calling for reform of the monarchy. And they're also calling for investigations into those, I mentioned 8 assassinations. There was a 9th assassination, same as those first 8. And the 9th assassination happened right during the George Floyd protests, which had already reached to Thailand. And Wanchalerm Satsat died. He died after being dragged into a van while talking on the phone to his sister in broad daylight in Phnom Penh, Cambodia, in front of his apartment building. It was 4 p.m, and actually not a van, but SUV came by, and men grabbed him, dragged him into the van, and his last words in Thai were, "I can't breathe."
Oh my gosh.
And so, the Thai liberals switched from protesting George Floyd to, okay, this is our own person right here.
We got problems of our own.
Right, yes, I can't breathe. And he was the second of those 9 people to die saying, "I can't breathe." Well, and I made a big deal out of the second person who died saying, "I can't breathe," because that matched the Saudi Arabian journalist who's all of a sudden Jamal Khashoggi,
right.
Also another anti-monarchist. His last words were, "I can't breathe."
Okay, and it was for matters of